What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and in today's video we're taking a look at how Travis Scott, aka LaFlame's most slept on album of all time, Jackboys, has aged since its release 4 years ago. Now, I can't believe I just said that, but yes, it's been 4 long years since Travis Scott blessed us with the release of Jackboys, and man, I can't believe it. And listening today on the 4th year anniversary, I can't help but still get lit at how many bangers there are on this album, and I'd love to know what your favorite song is in the comments. To this day, I think mine is still Out West or What to Do, and I honestly think they go so hard. Now, in addition to Jackboys being the debut compilation album for all of the Cactusjack artists, it also featured some amazing features such as Pop Smoke here on the song Gotti. If you're like me, this was actually my first introduction to Pop Smoke, and I honestly became such a big fan of him. And if you guys would like to see in a separate video how LaFlame linked up with Pop Smoke, as well as how he dedicated his Dior collab to him, let me know in the comments by commenting Pop. And before we get started, I wanted to of course give a special shout out to my homie Strain Beats, who's curating the beats for this video. And while you're here, you might as well drop a like and subscribe and join our free Discord. And shout out to the guys as well as my homie Saint Laurent John for always being a real one. I really appreciate growing with you guys and connecting with you in there. I do this for my squad, I do this for my gang. Alright, now forget I just said that, but in terms of the upcoming Jackboys 2 album, just a couple of weeks ago, this clip went viral of Travis Scott being asked about
Jackboy 2 in the works?
Yo,
let's
we
go,
love you,
baby.
bro.
Thank you.
Can I get a fist bump, man?
Now, no one of course knows if LaFlame was serious, however, I want to believe that the album is on the way. And it was just about a week ago that I actually covered the BMW that Travis gave away as part of the merch for this one, so if you guys want to hear more about that, I'll go ahead and leave that in the description. Now, as far as looking back at Jackboys 4 years later, I think it's clear to see why this one went #1 on the Billboard 200 and how it easily sold over 154,000 the first week. Now, not being satisfied with Travis Scott's answer in that clip earlier, I wanted to know a little bit more about Jackboys 2. I found this interview clip where Luxury Tax 50 mentions that there was a tour plan that ended up being canceled.
So there was no, not even one concert after the Jackboys album?
No, not one.
Oh man. Yeah, no, that sucked. There probably would have been like a tour and stuff with like crazy visuals and shit, which, yeah, like.
Well, it definitely would have been a tour.
Yeah.
Put it like this. I look at the industry like how it is. When they see money, they go for more. You feel me?
Right.
So when they see we did, they gonna go for a bigger portion. You know, It only makes sense, and I'm with it because it does make more sense than sitting at home and not doing nothing.
Of course.
So I just been creating, man, just trying to make songs for Jackboys too. Like I just been sending in shit, seeing what niggas like, you know what I mean? Like I'll be working in my room. I have my engineer pull up right here, pull my little couch bed up, speakers up, get it going. You feel me?
Yeah, you were saying like, you're sitting here making songs for Jackboys too. Like, how does that work? Like, you just do it on your own and then you kind of like present these songs or these ideas to to Sycamore, I'm guessing, because he's the A&R.
I mean, like, that's sick. That's the OG. That's the OG right there. Fucking, like, it's not really that. Like, I just be sending in songs.
Now, respectfully, I also had no idea who this guy was, but he was apparently on Jackboys and worked on it, and according to Reddit, he was either one of Travis Scott's shooters, one of his former plugs, or just a friend of his and a business owner that he hangs out with. Now, for the next portion of this video, I'll be reviewing the actual Cactusjack merch collection that dropped to support the album. It's personally one of my favorites, and there's a lot of dope pieces that are themed after the BMW that you see there. If you've been following the channel for some time, you might recognize this portion of the video, so I just wanted to add some value here with some updates in regards to Jackboys 2. What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and today we're taking a look at the insane Travis Scott Jackboys era merch, including some crazy pieces like the car he's sitting on, a fire extinguisher, and much more. This video takes us back to 2019 when Cactusjack dropped the Jackboys album, which was 7 songs and full of fire. Honestly, it was my introduction to Pop Smoke, so I just wanted to shout him out because he had a legendary video with that blue Bugatti. And let me know your favorite Pop Smoke song in the comments along with your favorite song off of Jackboys. I think mine is a tie between Out West and What to Do. Now, when I said that this merch drop was insane, you're gonna see exactly why in just a little bit. This dude has been known to be the king of merch, but as you'll see, there are a lot of crazy items that you probably didn't expect from LaFlame. And while you're here, you might as well go ahead and drop a like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram at wedontcookfood, and let me know you came from YouTube and I'll definitely follow you back. Now, one thing I wanted to point out as we're going through this video is the fact that this website actually changed for this drop, and it was jackboys.travisscott.com instead of his traditional shop.travisscott.com, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, I found this tweet back from 2019 where he was advertising this as the Blackjack collection, and he let us know that Jackboys was on the way. And when it comes to this merch and aesthetic, I personally think it's super hard. I feel like a lot of these pieces are inspired by like black metal or death metal, but especially with the font of some of these pieces, like this cactusjack writing we'll see here in just a second. Now, the next biggest thing I wanted to point out about this merch is the fact that all of it ships allegedly in 4 to 5 weeks. However, I do remember specifically waiting much longer to get a lot of my pieces, which at this point we all know is regular and standard for any kind of Travis Scott merch drop. And while you're here, let me know what you think about the aesthetic of this overall. And I also wanted to point out that this is just wave 1 of this cactusjack Jackboys merch. So throughout the video, you'll end up seeing a whole nother range of stuff. And personally, I think there's a lot of dope pieces in here that are for everyone. Now, as you can see, there are some insane pieces like a scooter for $550 and a now classic Travis Scott Jackboys era rug. And like I said, pretty much for every single album so far except Utopia, there's been some kind of rug that's available for purchase, and we're going to take a look in just a little bit. Now, I did also want to point out that damn near every item of this drop comes with a digital purchase of the album as well, which was great back in the day because it definitely helped boost album sales, but I don't think that Travis Scott has ever really needed it because he's only gotten better with every album, just in my opinion. Speaking of the album, I also wanted to point out that it was the first to go #1 in 2020, so they had another hit on their hands. Now, next up here in front of us, we're taking a look at this beanie right here, which I think is pretty dope and personally lacking from this last Utopia drop. As you can see, the price is pretty standard and consistent with most Travis Scott hats and beanies, usually staying around that $40 to $45 range. Next up, we've got a robe, which is not the first time we've seen a Travis Scott merch robe, but personally I think it's pretty dope and cozy. And to be honest, I feel like $120 for the robe isn't so bad, all things considered, even though this drop was back in 2019. I feel like similar pieces from other artists would probably range about the same, and I think we saw something similar when it came to A$AP Rocky's last album merch drop, so let me know in the comments if you would actually cop a robe like this. Now again, with all of the merch on here, it does come with the digital album, and as you can see, the shipping is allegedly 4 to 5 weeks, which again is kind of hard to believe. Now, for one of my favorite and goofiest pieces from this drop, it's gotta be the electric scooter here for $550. Personally, I love whipping around on these things whenever I'm in downtown Orlando, and I think it would be a dope piece to own, but for $550 they were definitely tripping. And next up, we've got this now classic cactusjack rug. As we've seen in pretty much every single merch drop except Utopia, there is some kind of commemorative rug like this, and for $250 that's pretty consistent. And one thing I did want to point out is that the shipping time on this piece is upgraded a little bit in the sense that this is now taking 8 weeks to ship, as opposed to the other items we've seen so far taking 4 to 5 weeks. Now next up, we've got this random cactusjack water bottle because you've got to stay hydrated at all times, so shout out to Travis for looking out for us. Now, there's definitely nothing special about it beyond the cactusjack branding, and for $45 I feel like that's kind of steep, but I'm not really in the water bottle game like that, so y'all let me know if that's a good price. Personally, I do like the branding though, and I feel like even if you don't use it, it would be a kind of dope commemorative piece, and I probably would have picked it up myself if it wasn't pushing 50 bucks. Now, I did want to also point out just some other pieces from this first initial wave because I do think that they deserve their own attention. As you can see, the king of merch, LaFlame, kept it consistent with his earlier album drops with a rolling tray. Now, a lot of times we do see these types of pieces accompanied with some other great smoker related things like this lighter here, which of course is not my favorite, but I think it would be clean to just get like a black one with the cactusjack branding. And of course, to complete the trifecta, we've got the ashtray here, which is personally pretty hard. And again, I really enjoy this overall branding. Now, back in 2019 when I was recording this, I also wanted to point out some of my favorite tees and pieces from this drop, and it's pretty much stayed pretty consistent. Like I said, I do like the rock and metal influence pieces with that branding, and we honestly saw something similar with the cactusjack branding when it came to that release of the Travis Scott Zipper Air Force One. Now, I did want to also show off just one of these tees here to give you guys an idea of the quality. And they mentioned that all of these pieces have a screen printed front and a back graphic with gel detail. Now, enough about this first wave, let's go ahead and hop into the second one, which might be my favorite. As you'll see throughout the second wave, the actual Cactus Jack Jackboys merch definitely has some lighter tones to it, which I definitely appreciate. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, they actually auctioned off the BMW M3 that Cactus Jack is sitting on, and at the time all you had to do to enter was enter your email address, but I don't think I ever even received any kind of a follow-up email, and I almost wonder if this was just kind of like a little scam at the time to collect everybody's email address to then put you on like a mailing list. Now, I did do research, and at the time, a $10,000 Craigslist find turned into a $45,000 come up. The people that sold this to Travis Scott then went on the record and said that they weren't happy with all the customization that was done to it, but personally I think this classic is hard as hell, and let me know in the comments if you agree. Now, when it comes to these merch pieces for the Jackboys album, the price increased from $95 from the first wave for a hoodie all the way up to $120. Here's a tweet from the day that this actually released, and as you can see, the gang was definitely lit. Here's a photo of Don Toliver wearing the same hoodie, and of course the Travis Scott Air Force One with the zipper that I mentioned earlier. Now, personally, I think it's always super important to have the artist or whoever wear their own merch because it shows that they actually like rocking it and the fans can relate. Now, back in 2019, my favorite songs were What to Do and Out West, and I think it's pretty cool how it stayed pretty consistent, although Gotti is definitely hard as hell, and rest in peace to my dude Pop Smoke again. Another thing I wanted to point out, of course, is that all of this merch for this wave is basically 4 to 5 week shipping except some pieces, and we'll see that here in just a second. Now, this next piece here features a photo taken by an artist and photographer named Harmony Corinne, and I apologize if I butchered the name, but your boy did the best he could. I'll show you guys why that's important to Travis here in just a second, but I also wanted to show off some of the branding that we'll end up seeing. And to be honest, although the actual artwork and photograph on the merch is pretty small, it definitely reminds me of the same creative art direction as Supreme. And just so you can really understand the whole Jackboys era and aesthetic, I wanted to show off some of these promotional photos that were taken of the album. As you can see, this BMW M3 is definitely a focal feature, and I honestly love the whole aesthetic and vibe. Now, when it comes to Harmony Corinne, I also wanted to mention that they produced or directed the film Spring Breakers, which was huge at the time, and also one of Travis's favorite videos, or movies rather, so I think that that connection is now a little bit more obvious. And these are just a couple more pieces that were co-produced by Harmony. Personally, I'm not in love with them, but I definitely appreciate what they were trying to do, and as always, you gotta love the Cactus Jack logo branding, as you guys can see here. Now, as we can see, even with the Harmony pieces, the shipping is pretty much the same. Something that's kind of refreshing when you really think about it is that the price of these hasn't really increased at all from $45. As we've seen in previous Travis Scott merch drops when he's had collaborations such as with Cause, it's definitely inflated the price. Understandably, of course. So again, I think it's cool that the price of these tees in collaboration with Harmony have stayed around the same price. Here's that same piece of merch basically that we saw earlier, but in a white crew neck. Now, I did want to point out a cool Dickies collaboration that we did see, and honestly this piece here sets the tone for the rest of this merch drop and aesthetic. If you're not familiar with the brand Dickies, it's worn by everybody from skateboarders to mechanics, and as you'll see with these pieces, they definitely give off that whole auto mechanic vibe. Even from the crew here that has to do with the Jackboys crew, I can see somebody working on that BMW wearing that same Dickies piece right there. Now, this is a dope little hoodie that we have available, and I also wanted to, of course, show off some of these Cactus Jack designs that we saw specifically for this Jackboys release. To wrap up the second wave of merch, I just wanted to show off this dope Jackboys album vinyl. Personally, I regret not picking it up, and although it's only 7 songs, I think that this would be great for any Travis Scott collector, as well as just any fan to have in the collection. I think that that blue vinyl is actually really hard, and let me know in the comments if you agree. Now, for the third and final wave that I actually found, and although I think there are some more pieces, I think that these are some pretty interesting ones. The merch stays consistently expensive when it comes to the novelty items, which we'll see here in just a second. I just wanted to highlight how dope some of these merch pieces are, and they show off the whole Jackboys aesthetic, doing what they want, because it's the boys. Now, we do see our first keychain in some time, and of course Travis Scott had to be the merch king that he is, and dropped these 2 different pairs of socks for $20 each. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, my dude LaFlame went crazy and dropped a damn fire extinguisher for $195. To go with the whole Cactus Jack and car mechanic theme, we also got this toolbox. And also this like anti-theft thing that goes on your steering wheel to make sure that nobody can move the car. Personally, I think again the aesthetic is pretty cool, and as always I do appreciate a good novelty item. And while the auction for the 1988 BMW M3 was still available, I also wanted to point out that there were some new shirts that also dropped as well, along with some hats and some dope merch. Personally, like I said, I appreciate these lighter vibes, and as you can see we got a dope keychain, a damn racing helmet that was unfortunately sold out, and just some more overall Jackboys merch, which again has to do with the whole mechanic theme, which I think is centered around this BMW here. In case you missed it, there were also cactusjack air refresheners, which were great for the car, and honestly the fire extinguisher does make sense to me, so you could put out the flames from when you listen to this album. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. I honestly can't believe it's been 4 years since the release of this album, and I really hope we get a Jackboys 2 very soon. I plan on dropping the Pop Smoke video tomorrow, and I'd love to know what you guys think. As always, thank you guys so much for cooking with the kitchen, and get ready for this giveaway that's going to be coming up very soon. As always guys, remember to stay safe, it's lit, straight up, and peace.